Hi, I'm Dr. Chuck Smith, and I wanted to speak to you for a little bit about dentists' favorite holiday, Halloween. Now, you may think that Thanksgiving or Christmas would be a lot more fun, but not for dentists. Think of yourself. Think of the times when you've thought the night before, oh my gosh, I've got a dental appointment tomorrow morning, and how sleepless your night was. Well, isn't that what Halloween is all about? And that's why we love it so much. Well, what I really want to speak to you on, now this might be an exaggeration, but let's talk a little bit about how candy fits into Halloween. Now, I know that dentists don't like candy, but on Halloween we change what we're all about. And we really do think candy's important. So let me tell you about what I've done for my children over the years, and it worked very well, and I think it might be a help to you too. So when we had our 3 kids all at home, and there's about 7 years difference between their ages, but by the time the youngest was 4, what we decided was that candy's okay. On that one night of the year, it's so important to take your bags and go out with the kids and get just as much candy as you possibly can. So what we did, we would start out, and at 7 o'clock, when those lights were starting to go on, we were already poised. We had already picked the first house that we were going to go to. And I had my bowler hat and my mustache, and the kids were all dressed up. Lorraine stayed home to pass out candy at our house, too. So we would go up to the door, we would knock, and all the bags were out, and we would catch everything we could. And at 8 o'clock, when the signs were done and the lights were going off, if somebody forgot to turn their light out, we'd hit that house too at 5 or 10 after. If they weren't smart enough to turn their front door light off, we were there. So then you come home. Now, what do you as a concerned parent do? You've got bags of candy for your kids. And the trick that I found that worked well for me is that we now had the kids each dump their treasure out on the carpet in their own areas. And then they had to make a choice. Anything that they wanted to eat that was really good stuff, they would put in one pack. Anything that they didn't want to eat, then they would put in a second stack, and now there's been inflation since then, so it may not quite work the same way. But we paid 1 nickel for everything that they had that they wanted to sell us back, and then that was off the table. Now, if they got a 5-pack of gum, no, they didn't open it up, and they didn't get a nickel for each stick of gum. It was the whole pack for a nickel. But there's always a little negotiating that goes with this process. The other thing that will happen, the older children would look at the younger and say, you know, I really don't want this Mars bar, but I would trade you my Mars bar for 7 of those little things that I don't think you like anyway. And it only took about 1 year for the littlest one to realize they had been giving up 7 nickels for that piece of candy. So it's fun to hear the conversations that are going around. So now you have taken off the table a lot of trash. And they have now all the things that they really want to eat. But there are a few rules that go with that remaining candy. So the first is they only have 3 days to eat it. After 3 days, you're pitching all the rest of it. The second rule is if they gorge themselves on so much candy that they can't eat at the next meal, then they forfeit all the rest of the candy. So you would think that would be the end of the story, but it's really not. The first year you kind of play with it and it's fun. But the second year is when it really begins to work. Because in the second year, these kids, your kids, if they're as smart as I'm sure they are, will have figured out the nickel game. And they will begin to negotiate on their own among each other. and they will begin to realize how much that is, and how much they had to throw away that they couldn't eat in 3 days. So you can watch the thought process, and it becomes a fun piece of Halloween. I can tell you, just in passing, the one other piece of that is that the children will hide their candy from each other. Can you believe that they would think that one of their brothers or sisters would actually steal some of their candy? But anyway, that was a concern among my children. And my middle daughter hid hers under her bed. But we have a dog. And unfortunately, the dog ate a good bit, and although Mittens didn't throw up, it was touch and go for a little while, and Wendy lost all her candy that year. So again, year by year, the kids learn how to manage their candy and make the stash work. So I guess the last thing that I was thinking about, oh, let me hunt here, would be for you to have a very, very happy Halloween.